6:30. You're watching and listening to Breakfast with Stephen and Anne.
Let's have a look at the front pages for you today. And the Prime Minister's looking into expanding the windfall tax on energy companies, according to The Telegraph.
The Times leads with Rishi Sunak's ambitious deal with France to curb migrant crossings.
The Guardian has a warning from the UN saying there's no credible way to keep limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees.
And the Daily Express has launched a campaign to save the pensions triple lock.
The Mail has the news of the royal family dreading the release of Prince Harry's memoir, Spare.
And the Mirror leads with a photo of Ghislaine Maxwell enjoying a jog in the sun.
She's enjoying it behind bars.
No, that's what I was going to say. Enjoying is a funny word to
yes. The Sun details why Prince William won't be heading to Qatar next month to watch England play in the World Cup. Oh, and let's not do the Daily Star.
No.
Let's just, we'll get rid of that.
You don't want to know.
Disgusting.
You don't want to know.
It's disgusting. Take that out.
Yeah.
Hate it. Anyway, going through the papers this morning.
I can't think of anything else to say now that Liz Lettuce has gone.
Yeah, they should have stopped to let it.
Yeah.
Should have done. Former Conservative advisor Claire Pearsall and political consultant Emma Burnell are here. Morning to you both.
Right.
Emma, let's start with the windfall tax. Should read in the Telegraph.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably quite a sensible measure to raise more of money to fill the massive black hole that is in the finances. I think Shell announced something absolute record profits again. A lot of the energy companies really are seeing a Ukraine boom. They are not suffering the energy crisis, the rest of us are. And that, therefore, it just makes sense in that kind of we're all in it together spirit that that kind of excess profit, it's not a windfall.
They haven't done anything wrong, is it?
They haven't done anything wrong, but they are making excess profit from a situation which most of us are finding very hard. And I think, frankly, if I were in charge of an energy company, and certainly if I was in charge of their PR department, I would be very much welcoming this and saying, yes, of course, we want to do our bit and pay our bit.
There's some financial arguments against windfall tax, aren't there, Claire?
There are, and I think as we've seen, we've had a windfall tax previously, and I've always said it's a really short-termist issue. So you have a windfall tax, you think, great, we move on, and then the profits go up again. So what do you keep doing? I think you need to look at how you tax them going forward. You can't just keep saying, right, we'll have a windfall tax, because it's one of those really messy things, and you start imposing it and these energy companies will just take their technology and go, we're not going to play anymore, and the UK will fail. So I think you need to look at how you tax them. You need to look at the profit levels, and you need to come up with a new way of doing it, different levies put upon them. And I think, in all fairness to Shell, they actually offered the government an option and said, we will pay you more money. Tell us how you want to do it. Tell us how this can act. And the government didn't go back to them. So, I think there's a little bit of fault on both sides, but just a windfall tax isn't going to work. You need to look at it much, much more long term, and especially given the kind of energy crisis that we're in, we need to do this quickly, and I don't know why everyone's dragging their feet over it.
Well, it doesn't sound as though they are now. They may be looking at it much more quickly.
I hope so, and I hope this is the new government coming in and actually going to make a difference and make some decisions that they stick with, because that's, what we need in this country right now is those decisions to be made quickly.
The Labour Party will be thrilled over this, but they'll say, well, this was our idea.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think Claire's right in many ways. A windfall tax is a short-term solution. We are in a short-term crisis. But what worries me slightly is that there is this sense that they're going to bring in renewables into this measure. And frankly, what we should be doing is investing far more into renewables and nuclear, the long-term measures, and actually making those much more tax-friendly against the fossil fuels, which we should be increasing taxes on as we go, so that we can do that transition into both energy security, but also energy that will help us with our climate change targets.
How much are they reckoning a windfall tax that the sort of which they're considering now might be able to raise?
I mean, you're looking into tens of millions it would raise, but it's only sort of a one-off, and you need to understand going forward, and Emma's right, that renewables shouldn't be in that, because you need to encourage those companies to put those renewables out there. You need to make it a much more incentivised market for people to get involved with, because at the moment it's very, very expensive. So whilst tens of millions sounds a really attractive number, it doesn't actually go very far when you're looking at the rest of the country. And again, if you're looking forward to energy security, it doesn't get you very far. And unfortunately, we've become so used to these large numbers that we get a little bit blasé about how much it buys you, how far it can go, and how long it can last for.
I thought Labour was talking about it raising billions under their plan.
I mean, I think it will raise a certain amount of billions, not as many billions as are in the gap, but it will raise, I think, somewhere between 5 and 10 billion.
See, that would help
it
a
will
lot,
depend
wouldn't it?
entirely how it's designed, of course.
Yeah.
But I think that that is a lot, but Claire's right that it's a one-off a lot, and there also needs to be much bigger plans on just completely changing our energy infrastructure and our energy systems, and closing our energy loop to make sure that we don't get into a situation where we're reliant on either oligarchs from the Middle East in terms of oil, or from Russia in terms of gas. We need to be much more self-sufficient in terms of energy.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at the Times, Claire, should we? In the Channel crossings, Rishi Sunak seems determined to... Well, he reckons talking to France will actually solve a lot of these problems.
Can that help where nobody else has been able to do that?
Talking to France is one thing. Having relationship with your closest neighbour is a good thing. I think that's to be said. What is lacking in the detail, and especially when you read this piece in the Times, is what the conversations actually entail and what it includes. Because at the moment they want it to include a minimum number of French officers patrolling the beaches at any one time. Well, what does that actually mean? The coastline is enormous. I mean, this is kilometres of coastline. It's very, very difficult to police. So how many police... it seems a little bit vague at the moment. Yes, you have to have those relations, but what's more important is actually clearing the backlog in the asylum cases, which is another area that he needs to concentrate on. We aren't dealing with them. In the past 12 months, 75% of the completed asylum cases have been granted. But you've got an enormous backlog, and the average case takes 480 days.
I mean, that's
to decide.
ridiculous, isn't it?
It does.
How can it take 480 days to decide someone's credibility for asylum?
Because they're not getting to that decision point. They're being kept very, very expensively in sometimes in terrible conditions. We're both spending a lot of money badly and not spending enough money, which is a weird paradox, but very true. If you look at that Times piece, what's really interesting is that the government is saying, well, we praise how well France has done in terms of turning their own backlog around. Then you look further down the piece, and it tells you that France has trebled its spending on asylum, and this is where I think we're trying to do two things at once. We're trying to say that we're going to be really tough on asylum, but we're trying to do it on the cheap.
Yeah.
And actually, those two things can't.
And it's plainly not working.
No, it's not working. And it's not working for people who are upset and worried about too much immigration. It's not working for Liberals who really want to see that we have a system that works for the immigrants as well. So I don't think it's pleasing either of the audiences
It isn't, and it's very, very difficult with these asylum cases to get the identities of individuals. They often turn up with no paperwork for whatever reason. And if you don't have any returns agreements as well, so once you've got the identity thing out of the way, we've lost access to all of the returns systems that we had prior to Brexit. It's not a fault of Brexit, it's just one of those things. And the previous Home Secretary should have been working on that. We had the Dublin's return scheme in its existence previously, where you could see if somebody else had claimed asylum, and quite often you would just return them to those countries. So the turnaround was an awful lot quicker. We lost that, so you have to now make those decisions with 27 separate member states, but those haven't been put into place.
Now,
so there's a lot of things that
knowing that we've got this problem and that Rishi Sunak is saying he's going to do something about it, he appointed Suella Braverman into the Home Office.
Indeed.
What do we think of that?
I mean,
Is she the woman to do it?
no. She's not a competent politician. If anyone who's so incompetent that they both are breaking the codes by sending things through their personal emails to people who shouldn't receive them, and then sending them to the wrong person so that it comes out that they've done all of this. That's not a person I trust with a system that's really important, that needs detailed, rigid scrutiny and understanding, and needs someone with real responsibility to fight the corner.
So on that basis, you're glad Donald Trump won in 2016 rather than Hillary Clinton then? Because that's what she would...
I think the idea that Donald Trump isn't taking personal documents out is slightly out of touch now,
well, yeah.
given what's been found in Mar-a-Lago. But yes, Hillary Clinton absolutely shouldn't have done that, but it's I mean, frankly, do I care about that 5 years on? Not so much as I care about what we're talking about now, which is Suella Braverman's inability to deal with this crisis. They should have put someone in the Home Office who could actually take charge and get a grip.
I don't disagree with that at all. I was quite surprised at the appointment, considering that she had resigned 6 days prior to that. I don't think she's the right person for the Home Office. It's a really, really difficult place to be. Interestingly, she put out the new Immigration Minister, Robert Jenrick, yesterday to answer the urgent question. He's proved to be incredibly competent. I must admit, I was quite impressed listening to him, and you sort of think, have you made the right decision? Perhaps that's Home Secretary material. I suspect that Suella Braverman will not last in this position. If your premiership is being overtaken by the appointment of your Home Secretary, which has proved to be a bit of an issue, to put it mildly, then I don't think she'll last. It may well be his first, I'm taking power, look, I'll make this decision. You could look at it in a political term, that he's being decisive.
Isn't it?
Absolutely is, and he is very clever at that. So I wonder if this is how good is Rishi Sunak. He has just got rid of the Home Secretary after deciding that no, she wasn't suitable. So it may be all power to his elbow in that respect.
Well, maybe leave it till after Christmas.
I was going to say,
it won't be immediate. It won't be immediate, but I think it's a real shame for the Home Office, who deserve much better.
What's next? Shall we talk about...
Prince William, I think, not going to Qatar is interesting.
Yes.
Yes. Prince William has...
Even if we get to the final.
Even if we get to the final, he said, and I think they haven't made it explicit that it's about the human rights issues and issues around the fact that gay and lesbian relationships are illegal in Qatar. But I think it's very much loudly unsaid by
They said his diary is too busy.
His diary is too busy, but I think actually if you look at how much he's been really prominent at international football matches, it's quite clear that he would have cleared his diary if he felt it was important. And I think there is a statement being made here, and quite rightly too. My family we always do a sweepstake on every big international sporting event. We have every time half the money goes to a charity. So this time we're doing it to a human rights charity. That's
excellent.
And I think hopefully lots of people are trying to make that kind of... We don't want to lose our ability to engage with international football, but we also want to make sure that we're taking a stance, because it really is just quite awful that people are having to be put into this situation.
I think it's really good that we can shine a light onto the human rights abuses in that country. I don't agree with holding the World Cup there, but if it does highlight the issues that are going on in that country, then I think that's a good thing. People don't always know. You take it for granted that people understand what these countries stand for and what they believe and what they believe to be right or wrong, but they don't always. So I think by putting that in the spotlight and making it more apparent, it might help in the future for those people who live in that country, who are being held essentially by a regime. It might just make things better. That's the only hope that you can have, is that something will improve for those people, because it is appalling what goes on there. I won't actually be watching it. Normally I don't boycott things, I'm not one of those people, but I won't be watching these. I just think this is the wrong idea, and especially for football.
But as you said, at least we're talking about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And if that's the one good thing that comes from it, then that's great. We can only hope.
Can we talk about UK food snobs?
Yes.
Well, this is in the eye this morning. I was sat in a coffee shop yesterday in Toaster, and the lady I sat next to, I could hear say in a coffee shop saying, "Oh, I'm a real coffee snob, you know. I'll only drink Nescafe."
Good luck.
And I was like,
Good for you.
That's a coffee snob, is it?
Oh dear.
anyway, what's the food
Yeah, so
snob?
what is a food snob?
It's quite interesting. It's about people understanding where their food comes from and not having things that are shipped in out of season, which is bad for the environment and also bad for your wallet. I think we've all been to an artisan baker's, for example, and you...
Have we?
I know that I haven't regretted every second of it because my wallet was emptied rather quickly. You go to craft fairs, you go to village hall fairs, and there's always some sort of artisan stand. But it's all of the global warming. We are so used to being able to access strawberries in December anytime we want that we don't think about where it comes from. So I think it's a bit of a let's go back to seasonality, stop throwing so much food away. You have this and then you throw it. So we just need to be a little bit more sustainable in how we eat. Seasonality is really, really important. And I think we've done that before. But people are very, very snobby about where things come from. Your lady in toaster, maybe not so much on the coffee front.
Yeah.
I like my coffee, I must admit, but I buy it from a local supplier because I like the blends that they have.
I prefer Nescafe, but there you go.
Yeah, and it's each to their own in that respect, but I think that we need to...
But I don't know whether I could live without avocados.
I totally live without avocados.
Avocados are great.
No. This is our controversy of the morning. I'm not having them.
This is it, the avocado line.
Smashed avocado on toast. The best breakfast ever.
I mean, what's
Absolutely.
wrong with you people?
I don't know, but I can't.
Honestly.
I'm
So
Team
nice.
Stephen
So
on
nice.
this one. I'm sorry.
You probably eat something imported from goodness knows where. What's your favourite?
I don't know.
You're going to say
Oh,
bacon and eggs.
bananas.
Bananas. Okay, there you go.
Well, yeah, they're imported.
Marmite on toast for breakfast. That'll do me.
Oh, yes.
What on toast? Sorry?
Marmite.
Oh,
No, I'm with you on the Marmite, but I would prefer the avocado, to be
I
perfectly
just bought
honest.
a big tub of Marmite the other day.
Yeah.
It's expensive, isn't it? I've forgotten how it it lasts for ages.
Yeah, that's the thing. Unless you're my dad who spoons it on, then you're gonna last. That jar will last you.
Yeah. It's like nearly £5.
Or date fish
it
fingers.
must take you a long time to get through that.
Yeah.
Marmite.
I bought fish fingers yesterday for the first time in a very long time because my son is home for half term.
Fish fingers are wonderful.
But they're so expensive.
Are they? They used to be a
Everything is.
cheap alternative.
10 fish fingers, £4.
Wow.
There
I
is
haven't
no
bought them
cheap
for such a long time.
alternative
There
now.
is,
And maybe
it's
coming back to
very
the story,
expensive.
that's what we need to think about. Maybe, in fact, actually having seasonality will help us reduce prices. So it's about sort of
I know.
positive.
Absolutely. Maybe we just need to
But
learn.
actually, white
how-
fish has become expensive.
It has become really expensive, and it's a real shame because it's absolutely really tasty. But I was really quite shocked. But I think also there's an advert here just for pumpkins, and this is one of the things every year that then go to waste.
Yeah.
People don't
But
use
at least
the
they are
plastic
grown
side.
locally and you're supporting
They
the
are,
farmer.
yes, the pick your owns and
Yeah.
stuff like that, which is really, really good. But people need to learn how to use the inside of it.
Pumpkin on toast wouldn't be the
But lovely
It
soup.
really wouldn't.
Lovely soup.
Does it make a good soup?
Oh, pumpkin soup is delicious.
Someone said if you roast pumpkin seeds, they're
Yes,
very nice.
They are, they're lovely.
So I might do that.
They're a
Why
good
go to
snack.
the bother, I say? I'd love to hear what's your guilty food pleasure? Something you know is probably too expensive or too imported, probably costs a fortune to ship across the planet, but you absolutely love. Your guilty food pleasure. GBViews@gbnews.uk. Make us envious.
My guilty food pleasure is not shipped across the planet.
What is it?
Pot noodle. Beef tomato pot noodle.
No.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I'm permanently
you're
on
a
a
cheap
diet.
dinner out,
I'm
aren't
a
you?
cheap date.
Yeah.
When I'm off the diet, lamb. Oh,
Lamb.
I love lamb, but honestly, good lamb is fatty lamb, so I can't have it very often because I've got a lot more weight to lose, but I do love a bit of lamb.
No, cheese. Cheese
Oh.
is always my guilty
cheese,
pleasure.
yeah.
Really nice cheese, but yeah, again, it's not good for the waistline, but it is gorgeous.
Yeah, and it can be very local, which is very good.
Yes,
Yeah,
oh, some
yeah,
really nice
local
cheese
cheese.
is coming up.
Guilty food pleasures, GBViews@gbnews.uk.
Thank you both. Catch up with you two a little bit later on.